Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day's going wonderful. I'm so glad you're joining me for another 5 easy step card tutorial. Today we're going to create a pretty sister card. We're using the Simon Says Stamp Exquisite Butterfly. This will be our focal point for my greeting. We're going to be bringing in some easy strips. These are the sister easy strips, and what these are strips that, let me open it up and show you. These are from Simon Says Stamp, and there we go. There's 4 in a package, and the lovely thing is that you can use your paper. If the price point on these are great. They're all the same. There's 4 sheets, but the nice thing is Simon has a die that will cut out these in one shot. Super easy. We're going to be using these on our card today. And then I'm also going to be using the Petal-Tipped labels for my home panel. This is a nesting die set. Beautiful labels. And for my background, we're going to be using a new stencil. This is a 5-piece stencil. It's called Mosaic Petals. And we're going to be doing a very colorful background using the stencil set. Let's jump in and get started with step number 1, which is creating our focal point. And that will be with our Exquisite Butterfly. I'm going to die cut out my butterfly with white cardstock, and we're going to do some ink blending with the butterfly here. Okay, I'm going to bring in my grip mat here. So this is when you die cut this out, that you get several pieces. You get the wings. We're going to color those in with some flannel on the middle, and then I'm going to add a little bit of extra color with Cheeky over on the edges. So let's bring in a blending brush here. I'm going to take my flannel, and I'm just going to add the color on the inside here. Kind of fade up. That's all there is to that. And then on the edges, I'm going to be using my Simon Says Stamp Cheeky ink. We're going to add a little color to the edges here. Kind of fade in, but I do want a little bit of the white showing in the middle. And that's done. Okay, then we have some detail layers. These pieces here go layered on the edges. And I'm going to use my seafoam ink to color this in, but I do want a little bit of the white showing still. So I'm going to add seafoam on the inside of both of these. What I mean by that is I'm going to just add some color and fade up. So I have white tips on here, just like that, and I'll do the same thing on this one. And those are my butterfly wings. And then we have more detail pieces. These 2 here. These go on the bottom. And for those, I'm going to be using my cabbage ink. We'll just add some color doing the same thing. So these, let's see, these will go here and here. And what I want to do is add ink to the outside edge here. Okay, I did color in my butterfly body here, but rather than using my ink cubes, I just used a Copic marker. I use C7 to do that. Now to layer our butterfly, it just makes it a magical, colorful butterfly. Now I'm going to go ahead and add little dots of glue to the detail areas, and then we can add these to our butterfly. And if you wanted a little extra dimension, you could do several layers. I think would be beautiful. How pretty is that? Now we're going to take these layers and add these to our bottom piece. And I think I'm going to add a touch of green to the tips of these over here, just to make everything cohesive. So let's bring back my cabbage. I'm going to add a little ink, and then we're going to add some green at the very tip. I think that will be really pretty. And somehow I got a pink ink here. Let's see if I can fix that. And I don't know how I did it, but I got some pink ink here that I'm going to remove with my sand eraser. I kind of over sanded it a little bit, but because I had that ink smudge. But we're going to work with it because I think I can still get away with it because we're going to put a greeting over the middle. So let's add a dot of blue here and here, and then we can add our butterfly body. And that is my focal point. We're going to put this to the side. We're going to work on step number 2, which is creating our home panel. I'm going to create a frame using some peach colored cardstock. This is Spellbinder's Chiffon. Such a pretty color. And I think this is going to make the perfect size frame. And then I'm also going to take the largest and cut this piece out with some vellum. And then maybe we'll do one size smaller and cut it out with white cardstock. Okay, we're going to take our frame, we're going to layer it on our vellum, just using a little bit of glue. And then I have this piece here. This is going to go in the middle here, but I do want to do a little bit of extra ink blending. I want to add some blue in the background. So just using the blue that's on my blending brush, I'm going to add some color to the middle here. And then we can add a little bit of glue behind here, and then I will tack it down right in the middle. And that is my home panel. We're going to take our butterfly, I'm going to flip it around, and then I'm going to put some foam tape right down the middle. I'm going to use just one of my foam strips here. Maybe a smaller piece. Okay, foam strip down the middle, doubled up on the foam squares, so our butterfly will have a little extra flutter to it. And I'm just going to place this right in the middle. We're going to put this to the side, and now we're going to work on step number 3, which is creating our greeting. We're going to make it really easy again using our easy strips. And we'll just take one of these sheets. I'm going to use the coordinating die. Of course, you don't have to. You can I'm going to use a low tack tape and tape it down. And then I will run this through my die cut machine, and I'll be right back. And then we have lots of greetings instantly. Simon has so many varieties of these. And I put some foam tape behind here, and we're just going to layer it right in the center, covering that mistake. And I think that worked out great. That's all there is to that. Okay, we're going to move along to step number 4, which is creating our background. We're going to be doing some ink blending directly on our card base. So I have a top folding card base. I'm going to layer it on my grit mat. Now I like to frame in my cards, and so what I'm going to do is bring in some of my Masking Magic strips. I haven't used these before, but if you have masking tape, you could do the same thing. There's 3 different sizes in here, and I'm going to use the 1/4 inch size. And then what I'm going to do is take off a strip, and we are going to mask off the edges of my card base. And we're going to do some stenciling directly on the front here. The nice thing about the stencil set from Simon is they're indexed. So you know what side is right side up. Like there's indexing on the bottom, and then there's indexing on the top. So you know which side to use. And so I'm going to take one of them. And for me, it's easier to go corner to corner. So that's what I'm going to do. Layer it in the corner. And since we have that mask, it's going to be perfect. I'm going to tack this down. For the first color, I'm going to use my cabbage. We're going to add some green flowers here in the background. Lovely. I'm going to use I'm just going to wipe off my stencil really quickly. Let's take a look, and then we'll add our next stencil. Look how pretty that is. Next, I'm going to use this stencil here. Tack this down. For this one, I'm going to be using my Cheeky. We'll add some coral color. That's our Cheeky. We're going to take this off. I already cleaned off my stencil. Well, that's really pretty. Okay, our third stencil, we're going to layer in the corner again. Okay, this one we're going to use seafoam. Lovely. Okay, we'll wipe this off. Wonderful. Love how colorful this is. Okay, for this stencil we're going to add a little texture using some Opaque Matte Ranger Texture Paste. Texture paste dries really quickly. I'm just going to go over this really quickly. I'm going to go ahead and remove this. And technically I think I should have put this layer on next. But we are making a lot of errors today, but that's okay. So now we have a little bit of texture in our background. I'm going to bring this to the sink so it doesn't dry on me. And then we are going to add our third layer. I let this sit for just a little bit. It's not quite dry, but I think it's dry enough to work on my next step. So I'm going to take my final stencil, and I think ideally I should have did my texture paste last, but I think I can still get away with this. So I'm going to tack this down, and for this I'm going to be using my flannel ink. I'm going to add some warm tones here, and we're just going to add a little bit of gray in our background. I don't want this too dark. That's all there is to that. Okay, I'm not going to clean this one off because I have my texture paste behind it. But I just love the way this looks. Let me lift this up. You can see we have a little bit of texture in the background. So pretty. Okay, let's remove our mask now. So we will just remove our mask, and we should have a nice border. Okay, I'm loving this. I did get a little bit on the edges here, but I think that'll be just fine. But I think when you fold it, it's not noticeable. Look how pretty that is. Nice and soft. Just gorgeous. Okay, now I'm going to take my home panel with my butterfly. I did put foam tape behind it. All we're going to do is add this right to the center. I like a lot of dimension. Of course, you don't like dimension, you can skip all the layers. But I love how soft and quilty this looks. To embellish my card today, I'm going to use my diamond Stickles. And all I'm going to do is go over the inside of my butterfly wings here. We're going to add some shimmer. And then in our background, where we have the gray circles, I'm just going to add a little dot. We'll shimmery these up. When it dries, it'll just dry sparkly, but it'll have a little extra dimension in those flower centers also. And that finishes off that card. This is a nice, soft, airy card. Great for sisters. Of course, you can replace the greeting with any greeting. Now, before I go, I do want to mention that my card project today is for an Instagram hop. Summer Stamp is celebrating a brand new release called You Are My Favorite, and the items that I used today are part of that release. There's lots more inspiration. I hope you can join us. There's also a giveaway. Have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for stopping by. Thanks so much for sticking with me to the end. I have 2 more videos that you guys might be interested here. If you guys are new and like the content that you see, click that subscribe button and also the notification bell. That way for future videos, be notified. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It sure does help the channel. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.